So when you have that towel in your hand and you're doing quick style repetitions, or you're using the band in your hand, let's say you're doing curl presses. Okay. And this is another thing I'll speak about a lot. He'll put people in a lunge position. And now you are multitasking. You are doing something, separating your upper body from your lower body. So I'm doing a quick style curl press with an iso lunge, and I'm holding myself in that position. So that means I'm pulling from the front leg, lengthening the back hip flexor. I'm in that 90-degree world, but now I have to move my upper body efficiently and powerfully. And I think those are great exercises for teaching the brain how to be able to run, move your torso, and be able to be athletic when your body, lower body, has to be doing something else. Okay.
And I think that that's a fundamental thing that most high school and even college athletes lack, is the ability to separate upper and lower body. If you look at what Franz Bosch does, he separates upper and lower body. But what do we do all the time in the weight room? We are locked in one position, fixed in a position, and one or two joints are working with everything lined up.
No better way to do that than to hold your body with an iso lunge and do that. Now, Chris was talking about rebound repetitions. A rebound rep can be trained with something like this. Matter of fact, Jay wrote me about 10 programs where he said use a folded dollar bill, long way, where you're dropping and catching it. Then he'd put you in a lunge position. Again, multitasking the brain. So I'm in that lunge position, opposite arm out in front, doing a rebound repetition with my left hand. So my right leg was forward in the lunge, and then I'm doing a left rebound repetition where I drop, chase, catch, reverse. Okay, that's a rebound repetition. Yes, and doing saccades and isos is another way to layer or stack stimulus. Yes. Now, here's the crazy thing. Like, I'm getting into all this neurology in the last 10 years. Jay was doing stuff, not using the sensory input that we're using with saccadic eye movement and isometrics, but he was certainly using rebounds with the upper torso, holding yourself in position with the lower torso. He'd do it out of a squat position, a bent over position, a lunge position, a front foot elevated, rear foot elevated. He would change the stimulus. That's a sensory input. I know it is amazing how bad high school kids are at rebounds because they cannot contract and relax. They have no idea. We need to teach them how to do it.
Which is something we'll talk about on Thursday with the oscillatory isometrics that DB was really big on. And I think Joel Smith has been talking about them quite a bit on Just Fly as well. Are there other examples of rebounds?
You can drop and catch anything. Yes. You name it. So then think about it for your lower body. If you are in a lunge position, the rebound repetition would be very similar to what DB calls oscillatory. You start in a little bit above the stretch position, drop into the stretch position, the critical joint configuration, and then back up to where you were. That would be considered a rebound rep. I find rebound reps and reactive work way easier to teach than the Olympic lifts. If you put a bar on somebody's back and ask them to do a reactive squat like this, as opposed to the triple extension, catching it, wrist flexibility and all that stuff of the Olympic lifts, I think you get the same bang for the buck. Because again, the zone of transformation of where you're returning that energy is really the training effect that happens. So again, it's finding different ways to teach the body how to turn on and turn off quickly. How about this? When I used to send video to Jay, he'd say, "Why are you making all these crazy faces? Why? All you're doing is holding a lunge. Why are you like this?" And so now I'm 20 years later and I'm researching cranial activation and cranial nerves of the things that just facial expressions, biting, clenching, tongue to the right or tongue to the left, all have a different sensory response and can help facilitate or inhibit some of the muscle contractions that you're going through. So again, I don't know if he knew that, but certainly the worlds start to collide and it's pretty crazy. How about the research by Amy Cuddy, but standing at attention or standing in a position of power? Jay used to write programs where they were standing at attention for 5 minutes. People used to think he was crazy. right? So standing in a position of power is a testosterone raiser. Again, you even if that research from Harvard isn't true, it's doing something to your biochemistry.
And again, why do we train? We're looking to either change the tissue or create some kind of hormonal chemical response in the body.
And then, you get into the whole aspect of he's moved most of his training now to utilizing electric modalities. And how he
So
does.
why don't you talk about that? Because I think there's a lot of misconception about what ARPs do and how you used it. And I know personally, and I know you and I have had very different results with this. I got rid of my Therastim. It didn't do anything for me. I probably used it wrong. I had it for a couple of years. Got in trouble from the state of Illinois for operating medical equipment without a license, which I got out of, and I sold it. It wasn't worth my time, wasn't worth my money. But I know you've had a radically different experience with it.
Well, I had a chiro come in and who was well versed in functional neurology, and we utilize it every day in our clinic and do a wonderful job with it. It's amazing how and I think down the road here, and it's coming in probably about another 5 years, you're going to understand how electric the body really is, and how these connections are built, how the fascia communicates.
In fact, there's a great book called The Body Electric.
So
you're going to grab yours, or should I grab mine?
These two books, Body Electric and Healing is Voltage.
Go to the first one. Nobody could see the author for the first one.
This one?
No, not that one. That one sucks. That one.
No, it doesn't suck. The body is electric. The body is reflexive. The body communicates. Just by you holding your hand over somebody's tissue creates a direct current. There's so many different ways that you can influence fascia, reflexes, So that's where it's going. But with the ARP, we've been able to do great things. But again, we're the oldest living company that's actually used the ARP. I've flown to Pennsylvania multiple times to fix some athletes where they have an ARP in their training room and nobody uses it because they really don't understand or have taken the time to learn how to use it.
And I think that's the key, and we'll talk about this more on Thursday, but that is a key to the oscillatory isometric rebound, is that it's a fall, that you are absorbing yourself from the fall. And that again, that's the intent of what you want to do. Darian Barr and Joel Smith have been talking about falling a lot lately. That's just an oscillatory isometric thing that Jay has talked about, and we've talked about, and a lot of other people have talked about.
The thing about it too is you'll watch it; they can't fall. I call them elevator squats. Fall, and then stop yourself. So you're here, just fall, and stop. It's a sudden stop. You get a fast eccentric stretch, and you're catching yourself in different joint positions. So now you're communicating those joint systems, which again are a satellite system, communication with the brain. So you're now starting to understand movement from a neurological level, not just a squat. Well, great, we're squatting, but what muscles are we activating? What's stopping me? What's pushing me? What's propelling me? I always say this: when you stop falling, you're not running, you're not sprinting anymore. So if you're accelerating and you're not falling, you're not running.
How is the ARP not the same as a Globus or a Mark Pro? I don't know either of those two pieces of equipment.
There are two fundamental wave components. One is a direct current wrapped in an alternating current. I don't think the Globus is a direct current. I could be wrong though, because I don't know about those electrical modalities. But most stim doesn't allow you to move while it's on you. So the fundamental belief system behind the ARP is you can move while you're being stimulated. What's the next one, Chris? What are we doing? We're doing on DB?
Our next topic, it's going to be how we transferred from Jay Schrader into DB Hammer stuff.
This is a great platform to go into that, and
they're different. They're very different. There's a lot of similarities, but they're different. Dr. Bard talked about slow isos for those with stiff tendons for tendon health. Are these extreme isos more for tendon stiffness because they are more concentric than yielding? doing the isometrics, I don't think the tendons have one job, and I think it's those, any isometric with the tendons is going to be stiff, and that's what you're looking for, a stiffer tendon. A lot of that, sometimes if you read the Jill Cook stuff, you know, your tendon is loaded with, a bad tendon is loaded with all kinds of juice. I forgot what she called it. And Sean Allen talks a lot about too. If you guys are bored, you want to get into a lot of interesting stuff, check out the Gate guys. They've got all kinds of crazy stuff. The isos are just getting the tendon stronger, and that's ultimately what we want. There's one question about Jay's protein nutrition, Dan.
An astronomically amount of protein and very high fat. I haven't done I have a ton of nutritional things from him. I didn't spend a lot of time, you know, looking at that part of it. I have a different philosophy when it comes to that part, but let's see, when pulling into position in the lunge, what muscle groups fatigue first if performed correctly? Hamstring, glute. Well, first of all, your quads are always going to get tired because gravity, you have your weight of gravity pulling you down with that too. So it's really going to be dependent on your compensations on what fatigues first. But what you normally want, what happens is you'll lose the pull of your hamstring and then it's time to stop. That's all I care about. Are you losing the ability to pull with intent and muscular contraction into your hamstrings, into the ground? Once you lose that, stop. That's, to me, that's neurological fatigue.